Yeah. So I'm going to put up the second question we have here. If we go to online stuff, are there actually advantages of teaching online? Are there things that maybe we hadn't thought of that maybe we could do better online than a face-to-face idea? What do you guys
Yeah,
think?
I really appreciate this question, Kent, because we have a tendency we have
There
a
you
tendency we have a tendency to just automatically think of the things that online teaching can't do. And it's true, there are some disadvantages in comparison to face, but there are also some very distinct advantages when it comes to engaging students, when it comes to assessment, even when it comes to flexibility for the student and for ourselves. So this is a great question for us to think about.
Yeah, I think a key in there word that Greg mentioned is the idea of flexibility. And I would say I would put that more on the student side of things, more so than on the instructor, because online teaching, I think one of the misunderstandings about online teaching is that it's easy to do and that you have to be less engaged as a teacher. And that's a misconception about it altogether. In many respects, online learning takes in some facet even more engagement with your students. But the flexibility part, allowing the students in an asynchronous sort of way to engage with the classroom more effectively. One of the wonderful things about Corban is some of the at-distance students that we've had in our online environments. For example, I have a graduate course that I teach. I had a student from China. Well, I can't have that student check in at 9 o'clock Monday morning, those kinds of things. And so I have to allow for the flexibility for that student to engage fully with the others, even in small group kinds of setting, which is a strategy that you can do in online learning. Some people think you can't do that. And it used to be advised that way, that you didn't do small groups in online learning. But I think that myth has been set aside, that you can do that, and if you're creative enough with it. But the idea is the flexibility. And so course design is going to be very different in many respects from face-to-face, or it may not, depending upon the strategies that you're implementing, the goals that you want students to come walk away with. But I think that's a key word that Greg landed on, was the idea of flexibility, and more so on the side of the student, I would say, than on the teacher, even though there is some flexibility with the teacher as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sam, you could teach your class from China.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
Maybe not right now, but
not really.
Yeah.
I was going to say certain areas of China, probably not now, but yeah.
Sam, you use the term asynchronous. Can you give a quick, just brief difference between what we would refer to as synchronous learning and asynchronous learning?
Yeah, so synchronous basically is that everybody is there together at the same time. So everybody's present in the same environment, learning environment, be that online or be that in a face-to-face classroom. So online, you can do that through video conferencing like we use with Zoom or Big Blue Button or other formats like that. So but everybody ideally is all together. They're taking part in the learning environment together. Whereas asynchronous, you have components that are set up in the class where people check in at their own time, at their own pace. And so it allows for people to maybe post an idea or a thought, think about, and then others think about what that person posted and then come back and make replies. So synchronous is everybody's together. Asynchronous is allows people at their own flexibility and their own time to check in to the learning environment.
I think that's one of the best advantages of remote learning, is that students can consume information and content and engage with it when they are ready and have the time to do so. For some of our students, this works really well. We do know that it's a challenge for some other students that maybe who aren't as organized or motivated. But when you can put some ownership in the hands of the students of when they're going to engage, I think you get better engagement and a better product or a better learning outcome for students on the other end of it. And it goes again back to the flexibility, and even where we started with the different strategies and when you apply them, whether it's a flipped concept in online where students are engaging the content first, and then when you do have a synchronous meeting, you're doing something with it, even though it's remote, you're all together or in small groups interacting with the content. Or if you are still doing some synchronous type things or quasi-synchronous activities where you are providing content for students and then after the fact they're going to engage with it. That is probably the biggest advantage of online is just there's more flexibility than a traditional, 9 o'clock Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You have to be here and we're doing this.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like, I kind of think of synchronous and asynchronous sort of in TV modes, where in 1980, if you wanted to watch TV, you didn't have a VCR, there wasn't Netflix. So you had to watch TV when it was offered. And if you missed it, you missed it, but now we have Netflix, we have all the streaming stuff. And so TV's moved largely to the asynchronous realm. But there are still some synchronous things like sports is better synchronous, where if you're watching the Super Bowl, you don't want to watch it 2 years from now, even though they're replaying all that stuff now. But, you want to watch it.
Jen wants to watch the Patriots Super Bowl.
Who's probably playing somewhere. Yeah.
I was just sitting here all nice and quiet, Graham.
I can see that smirk.
But there are more of those highlights than cowboy highlights recently. Maybe.
Yes, the ours are all in black and white, I'm afraid.
But you get the difference, right? Like, if you want to watch sports, it's much better synchronous. But if you want to watch, NYPD Blue from 20 years ago, oh no, you go to Netflix for that and you watch it when you want, right? And so much, I think what we've done learning wise is we've just assumed synchronous is the best. And it's not really true. Do 20-year-olds learn best between 9 a.m. and 9:50 in this place when they're really tired and the heat's turned up too high and they're being distracted by a bunch of stuff, right? And I think that's an underlying assumption that we've always put out there in the classroom that probably isn't true. Yeah.
A lot of our students are just gearing up when we're going to bed.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So why don't we have them learn at that time? If that's the best time for them, that makes more sense to let them do that.